And our lesson this morning is redirecting anger, and it's in Psalms 35. And kind of some of the things it says small children, that parents go through. Sometimes you see them, they get mad over anything. Like I said, there's some things in here that the moon was up in the middle of the day and stuff like that, and all kinds of that. The ice cream was too cold and stuff like that, and all kinds. We went with Christy and little Charlie to the store one day last week, and he decided he wanted some toy, and we didn't buy it for him, so he pitched a fit in the store, so he had to go out squalling and crying. So they get mad about things and things like that and take place, and they get mad about it, but also as adults we get mad about things too and stuff like that, and some of the things in here it says someone chews their food too loudly or something like that, or someone walks or drives too slowly in front of you. That happens a lot. We act that way a lot. I was coming to church this morning, and a woman pulled halfway out in the road in front of me, and I had to go another lane to miss her, and she smiled and waved. and like I said, things make you angry and stuff like that. Things aggravate you about things. Things happen in this world that make us mad and stuff and go wrong. And, like I said, you can kind of think about that. It says someone puts you a hold for longer than a minute. If you ever call any place anymore through these automated systems and stuff like that, it may take you half a day to get to talk to somebody, but they say it's better, I ain't figured that out yet. But we get mad about things and we get angry about things and stuff like that. Here in David, in Psalms, he wrote this. It says, plead my cause, O Lord, with them that strive with me. Fight against them that fight against me. Take hold of the shield and the buckler and stand up for my help. Draw out also the spear and stop them. Stop the way against them that persecute me. Say unto my soul, I am thy salvation. And it's here two things. David, he had people that was after him and stuff like that. He was a great warrior and stuff like that, and he went into battle many times. Said, like it says, a popular song back then was that, Saul had slain thousands, but David had slain 10,000s and stuff like that, 10,000. And, that made Saul jealous of what David had sung and stuff like that. Even Saul was trying to kill him, trying to take his life. Somewhere in that part that, Samuel had already anointed David to become king. But, David wouldn't take it in that way. He wouldn't go against the king and stuff like that. I guess you could say after David's victory over Goliath and stuff, he rose to popularity and stuff, and he was a great warrior and great in battle and stuff like that, and the things like that. But, Saul became jealous of him in this, and, he tried to kill him many times. Even though David went out in the wilderness and went away from there, he still sent people after him to try to kill him and stuff like that. Even he went out there himself to try to kill him and take his life and stuff. And, he was after him. And these things, it said, David had easy opportunity to kill his enemy twice. Said once, on occasion, Saul went to a cave and stuff to relieve himself. David crept in and cut off a corner of his robe. And, really he showed Saul that he could have killed him then. And also one other time, David crept into Saul's camp while he was sleeping and took his javelin and his water jug. He was within inches of Saul. But, David wouldn't kill him. He knew that he was God's anointed. Even though that was going to change, it was going to be different. David wouldn't try to take his life. He could have, like I said, he had 2 times there that he could have took his life easily and stuff like that, but he didn't. And, even though he went through all these things, he said David took the matter to God, and really he asked God to do that. And I guess a lot of times, to really for God to take care of it and take care of the enemies that were after those that were trying to destroy him, those that were trying to kill him and stuff like that. You know, he wanted them to that. He says, too, it said, he wanted them to stop, you know, the people that were trying to kill him and stop the people that were after him and stuff like that. And I guess I was kind of thinking a lot of times, you know, we have people that put us down and persecute us and do all kinds of things to us and stuff and make us mad and stuff. But, you know, God will help us to be able to get through it and stuff like that. He'll have us really not to act like them and stuff like that. Really, people can do things against you and stuff like that, and, you know, they just keep doing it. Sometimes they just keep gouging and poking and stuff like that to try to make it worse and stuff like that. But if we don't forgive them and stuff like that, it really just keeps us all tore up and stuff. It really, you know, doesn't, and it probably doesn't even bother them. That's just something they do to, you know, aggravate you or make you mad or something like that, or they enjoy doing that or something. And it says, here it says in Psalms 35, 13 through 16, but as for me, when they were sick, my clothing, but as for me, when they were sick, my clothing was sackcloth. I humbled my soul and fasted and prayed. Prayer returned in my own bosom. I behaved myself as though he had been a friend or a brother. I bowed down my head as one that mourneth for his mother. But in my they rejoiced, adversity, they rejoiced and gathered themselves together. Yea, the objectives gathered themselves together against me. And I knew it not. They did tire me and cease not. With mockers in feast, they gnashed their teeth upon me. And here, like I said, he said here that he prayed for those that were after him, prayed for those that were when they were sick and stuff like that. And he humbled himself and prayed before them. And he was praying for them, even those that were coming after him and stuff like that. And God would have us to be that way today. You know, really, someone like that, probably the only thing that's going to change them or make them different is us praying for them and God getting in their heart and changing their lives and stuff like that. Or they'll keep being the way they are, or keep acting the way they are and stuff. And what we need to do is, like I said, be praying for them and stuff. And it said also, too, that they were adversaries and stuff like that, and they were still, you know, trying to get him, still coming after him and stuff like that. Really, and all kinds of things. It said even they gnashed their teeth upon me with their teeth, gnashed upon me with their teeth. And it says also, you know, like I said, he was praying for them and all that through this and stuff, but you know, they were still trying to tear him down. They were still trying to come after him and still trying to kill him and stuff like that. It says, by this, he was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. And this is when Jesus, this what happened to him. And it says, as a lamb to slaughter, and as a sheep before the shearers of dumb, and so he opened not his mouth. But God commended his love towards us, that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. You know, Christ died for us, even though what they done to him, they crucified him, and the things that they done to Jesus Christ. You know, he didn't speak out against them. He didn't say bad things against them and stuff like that. Really, he died on the cross for everyone to be saved, for everyone to be born into the kingdom of God. And, you know, that's what he done. It says, but be not overcome with evil, but overcome evil with good. That's what God would have us to do. You know, I know these people that do things to aggravate us and make us mad and stuff in this world and do things to do that. Some of the people that they aggravate you so bad and they do things so much, sometimes it's hard to pray for them and stuff like that, but God would have us to pray for them, pray that they'll change that, and, you know, even that God will stop them from what they're doing. And it says also in Psalms 35, 7 through 18, it says, Lord, how long wilt thou look on, rescue my soul from their destructions? my darling, from their lands. I will give thee thanks in the great congregation. I will praise thee among the people. And it said, David here, it said that David's prayer and appeal to God was to rescue him, not retaliation. He was praying that God would rescue him from that. And that's how we need to pray today, that God will rescue us from the things that are coming against us and stuff, the things that are happening. It says, plead my cause with them that strive with me. Let them be confounded and put to shame. Let their way be darkened and slippery. Let destruction come upon them unawares and stuff like that. And it says also in after Saul died in battle and stuff like that, David didn't rejoice and say, yes, my prayer's been answered and stuff. Instead, he grieved with Saul or about Saul and as well as Israel and stuff like that. And it says we feel no retaliation or vengeance when we grieve over the defeat of those who seek our downfall. And it also says too that David had faith in God who would rescue him. He just didn't know when. Lord, how long wilt thou look on? David knew God would rescue him, but he wasn't ready to rescue him right then. And David's trust, that he trusted God and praised in him and stuff like that. And, the Bible tells us that David was a man after God's own heart and stuff like that. And like I said, he even praised him and worshiped him during that. And, some of the things too, here it says, like I said, we need to pray for people and that do things like this. David, like I said, he prayed that he would get the enemies off of him and stuff like that, those that were sought after him and those that were trying to hurt him, those that were trying to kill him and stuff like that. He prayed that, God would stop them from that and stuff like that. But like I said, too, he prayed for that, and that's what he'd have us to do today, to pray for people and stuff like that. It says, vent to God. Before talking to others about what has upset you, talk to God. Be honest to God why you're angry and ask for strength to refrain from anger and trust Him with the situation. And it says seek resolutions, not retaliation. If it's possible to find a way to resolve a relationship, to do that, even though someone's trying to do something to hurt you or something like that. And it says love no matter what. To love people no matter what takes place and stuff like that. And I guess, like I said, I've kind of thought that, there's people that's done things to me and stuff like that, and, we can get mad at them and stay mad at them or something like that. But God would have us to forgive them and stuff like that. God would have us to pray for them, and it even says that, it heaps hot coals upon their head when we're praying for them and stuff like that because of that. If they don't change from what the way they're acting and the way they're doing and stuff, God will take care of us. God's going to judge in the end. I think there's a lot of people in the world that think they can do anything, especially in the world today. We're seeing a lot of people in high places and power and stuff like that. They think they can do anything and get away with it, that there's not going to be a judgment, that everything's all right, just because they can say it's okay and stuff. And we see more and more of that happening in our country today and in the world today. They do just anything and say it's okay. They're not guilty in their eyes. They're not doing nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong in the way they act or the way they do and stuff like that. We're seeing that so much. But there is a judgment day coming. They're going to give an account someday. I'd like to see from a president and all our Congress and Senate and Supreme Court and justices and all the high powers. I'd like to see every one of them born again and change from their ways and stuff like that. But it doesn't seem to be going that way. It seems to be going farther and farther away from God. Our nation seems to be going farther and farther away from God. Like I said, it says not be angry about some of these things, but I am angry about some of the things that are happening in our country. I'm discouraged about a lot of things that are going on in our country. I never thought it would get this way. I never thought it would be this way and stuff. You know, I don't have all the answers to a lot of these things, but like I said, I'm really discouraged about the way things are going and stuff like that. And, you know, we need to really pray for our country. We need to pray for those that are lost out there. We need to pray for those in authority over us that, you know, God will save their soul and to change them from the way they're going and stuff, because they're going contrary to what God would have them to do and acting contrary to what God would have them to do. And there's people in the world today. You know, I never thought this either. You know, I've always seen some people that didn't like Christians, but I've never seen so much hate and bitterness in the world towards Christians as it is in the world today. They want us gone. They want us destroyed. They don't want us saying anything about sin. They don't want us calling sin sin. A lot of the things that they're saying is okay in their lifestyles and the things they're doing, they want to keep doing them. And they don't want the church or a Christian saying anything about that, about calling them sin, about saying it's wrong and stuff like that, about it. There's going to be a judgment someday. They don't want to hear any of that. And like I said, I've never seen so much hate in the world towards Christians as it is right now. But the Bible tells us, you know, it's going to get that way, and it's going to get worse and worse, I believe, as we get closer and closer to when the Lord Jesus Christ comes back. And I guess that's kind of all I got this morning. Any comments or anything?
Brother Rick, you mentioned, you know, sometimes people aggravate you. In that instance you made, have feelings that later on you say, I wish I hadn't felt that way. You know, when you get to studying about what David was going through here, it wasn't just one instance. It was repeated over and over. And it wasn't like different people, it was the same people. The people that were closest to him, the people that he had served in Saul's court. He had gone to war with Saul. He had fought side by side with Saul. The problem was that people started singing the song, David was the anointed one. Saul, God's hand had come off of Saul. God's hand was on David. And the people knew that. They could see that. They recognized that. And they sung the song that Saul had killed his thousands, but David his 10,000s. And that just eat away at the heart of Saul. Saul knew, God had already told him that you're not going to be the leader of my people. I will get a new. Well, I'm here to tell you, God's got a new leader. But it's not the Antichrist. And it's not Joe Biden. And it's not Donald Trump. God's got a new leader. And he is going to shine more and more if we, the church, will allow him to. That's our job. We're supposed to let him shine for him. But David was putting up with this, and I don't know, this COVID thing, this one's been going on for what? Nearly a year now? I mean, really and truly, it's wearing people down. It's getting old. And people's anger, and they're expressing, who they expressing it against one another. Like you said, never seen the hate being shown that's being shown right now. We've been a nation that's been, well, I grew up with segregation. I can remember the first year that the black gentlemen got on the same bus I got on and rode to school. I can remember, and I can remember really and truly the little school out here that you see off the bypass, all the black gentlemen was bused to that place. And we would let them go to school with us. Well, that was wrong. And these young ones out here got seconds on everything, books and everything. They just got the leftovers, and that was wrong. But you know, we've come together, and we had come to the point that we were a people that was walking on the same sidewalks, using the same fountains, using the same bathrooms, and thinking nothing of it. We were in agreement on so much. But right now, is there very much agreement between the races in America? I mean, really and truly, black on white, black on yellow, black on red, white on red. Listen, there is a divide in our nation. Where's it coming from? What's happening? And I want you to know, with all my heart, the devil is working overtime to stir But they're all kind of coming up that they want equality. They want everybody to, be the same. Well, being the same means that everybody's treated alike. That you walk on the same sidewalks without thinking about whether you're black or white. That you use the same fountain without thinking about whether or not it's black or white. That's when you come together. But whenever you start patting somebody on the head and saying, because you're pitiful. God didn't create anybody that's pitiful. God created us all equal. Isn't that what our Constitution says? Where'd that come from? Come out of the Bible. Oh, well, folks, listen. All men are created equal. Let every man stand on his feet. Let every man be counted. But listen, you cannot play favorites. God had his people picked out. God had his anointed people picked out, and he blessed them. Why did he do that? To show the world what a people could do if they would follow God. That's the reason Israel was blessed. That's the reason Israel was given the promised land. God was showing the world that if you trust me, I can take care of y'all. David was being pressed over and over and over and over again. It got old. Wouldn't the anger, wouldn't resentment seep inside of us if somebody done us like that over and over and over again? What did David do with the feelings that he was having? Like you, I was coming to church this morning. I made a little turn off coming up on the little homeless church out here. I made the turn, it was almost to the intersection where that road comes up from the Finley Road comes up. And here this car pulls up, looks at me, pulls out in front of it. I mean,
That's the same place it happened to me. That's the same place.
if I had put my brakes on, I would have plowed into the side of that poor little silly thing. And, for a second or so, you can howl, and we do. We're flesh and blood. We do. But listen, whenever something's going on and on and on, it begins to eat away at the very heart of us. And if we're not careful about it, David took that to God. And there's something in that first passage of Scripture. He said, God, I want you to take hold of it. I want you to deal with it. I want you to get the sword. I want you to get the spear. I want you to take care of it. He didn't say, I want to do it. He says, I want you to take care of it. And then he says, remind me that you're my salvation. Don't let me get caught up in feeling like this. Don't let me get caught up in hate. Don't let me get caught up in greed. Don't let me get caught up in vengeance. Remind me that you are my salvation. Kind of like that song we sing with the young ones in our vacation Bible school. Remind me who I am to you. Folks, we need to remind ourselves who we are to God. David reminded himself who he was to God. He was God's anointed. Guess what we are? We are God's anointed. We need to remind ourselves like that so that we respond appropriately. I believe if you had taken David's sword against Saul's sword, if you had put David and Saul on a battlefield face to face and turned them loose, David would have defeated Saul with no problem. Now Saul was a whole lot bigger than David. He stood a head taller than any other Israelite around. So he was a bigger man, a stronger man, no doubt. But God wasn't with him. David had stood before Goliath, 9 feet tall, and had no problem. David had gone into battle over and over again at the side of Saul, no problem. And people had seen that David was a mighty warrior. Why? Because God was with him. And we can't let the enemy make us fear. We have to stand. David stood against Goliath. David stood against the enemy. And David could have stood against Saul, save one problem. What did David say about it? I'll not touch God's anointed. Folks, God's got a plan. I don't understand it sometimes, but I'm in agreement with it. And I will do David been anointed king. Here this man by the name of Saul was in between him and the crown. What would be our tendency? We cut the rascal's head off and take the crown. David wouldn't do that, said, in God's time. I don't know what God's doing in our nation today. I don't know what God's doing in our world today other than this much. He is moving our world toward the end time scenario where He will step out and deliver us. You listen to the national news. Great Britain has been able to exit from the the European Union. The European Union is pretty much the old Roman Empire. You get in the book of Revelations, you got 10 kings. That's the 10 original kingdoms of the Roman Empire. And up out of those 10 kings, one rises up. Ain't it all coming together? Ain't it all pointing toward that? Youngins, just pray, Lord, remind me that you're my salvation. Not this political upheaval, not this racial divide. None of these things can change the fact that God's in control of us. Whatever we do, hang on to that knowledge. God is in control.
You see some things happening in the world today too, like I said, this virus and stuff, and like I said, I listened to a fellow talking about some things, and this would really come from somebody in Canada about their government. It worked in their government up there, that if they were, they're going to keep shutting down stuff, they're going to keep destroying business and destroy our economy, and they're going to do government's going to do a debt forgiveness thing if you'll just join their group. And we know what's all that's leading to. And if you don't go along with that, you're pretty much going to be imprisoned or maybe even worse if you don't go along with what they're wanting to do. And it's, I mean, you see what they're doing today. They're trying to destroy our economy. And that's the only way. People wouldn't go along with something with the economy good. They wouldn't follow somebody blindly if the economy is doing good.
Brother Rick, I go way back in my mind to a lot of years back. And Nikita Khrushchev, well, you remember him or not, but he made a statement. He said that communists would take America from within without firing a shot. Seems to me like Nikita was somewhat of a prophet.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure whether or not he's one I want to listen to.
Well,
Most folks would have said, no, that will never happen. Where are we right now today?
and the thing about the Chinese Communist Party, they're in about everything we got in America. They're in about every business. They're influencing everything. They're influencing our senators. They're influencing the people everywhere. Nobody saying no to what they want or what they want to do. They're not, they're wanting to take over. That's, appreciate you being here.